Hello. So last class what আমি কেইবাটাও question answer discuss কৰিছিলো. We have gone through many important model questions for the upcoming episodes like this one regarding puppetry. I told you to remember, we have to remember some keywords along with the examples like where the puppetry is mentioned, like আমি পাইছিলো Silapadikaram, that is written in first second VC. Sanskrit terminology pattalika and puttika মনত ৰাখিব আমাৰ পুতলা শব্দটোৰ লগত মিলে little sounds. Then we have seen that they are taking the stories from different epics and different their mythological stories. So, and presenting the painting, sculpture, music, dance, drama of a particular region. And we have given example like Kathputli of Rajasthan, Kundhe of Odisha, and then musics are also drawn from the region basis popular tunes. Similarly, then another example like Tholu Bamalata of Epi, and more importantly, the Gombayata of Karnataka, where prasangas of Yakshagana plays. We all know about Yakshagana plays are playing importance. Then Togolu, Gombayata, Karnataka here, you can say that those Western Ghats areas means local tribes are contributing towards this type of puppetry, enriching that with their own local based music. Then we can see some lack, means why this puppetry is dying today's current days because of lack of patronage in modern age, competition with electronic media. Then several other regions are there. Then also we have come to the conclusion that how to make it again flourish. Then we talk about folk arts. Okay, folk arts, not just only painting, it can be music, dance, drama, martial arts, anything. Then we talk about the folk and tribal arts, how they are ethnic and simple and but maintaining colorful and vibrant to speak volumes about the country's rich heritage. We have gone through examples of different folk paintings. There we have mentioned about Madhubadi paintings of Bihar, Patachitra paintings of the state of Odisha, Nirmala paintings of Andhra Pradesh, Kangra paintings from Himachal Pradesh, Warli paintings from Maharashtra. Then folk theaters, we talk about that, like these folk theaters are also associated and from the long back, like 5,000 years back. There we have given the examples of Bhand Pathar of Jammu Kashmir, Swang of Haryana, then Raman of Chamoli district, Uttarakhand, the Jantra of Bengal, Mudiatu of Kerala. Then we talk about folk dances, Bihu, Dandiya of Gujarat, Bhangra of Punjab. So we have seen that folk and tribal arts speak volumes about the country's richest heritage and art form. You have to mention this line, then your sentences will be more depthful. That folk and tribal arts of India speak volumes about the country's rich heritage. Art forms in India are very exquisite and explicit. Local fairs, festivals, deities, they play a very major role. So government associated with other societies should try their best to promote this type of art form. Then we talk about India's relations with European unions, especially Italy and France. We have seen that their trade is around $25 billion in the month of April, January 2023. Diaspora, many Indian diasporas are present in both the countries. And in India, we find the presence of so many Italian and French companies. Historically, they are here from long time. Then investment, France is the 11th investment and investor actually, and then Italy is the 17th largest contributor. Then high level of delegations are going on, frequent exchange and visits are going on. FTA, that is free trade agreement. Now, India and EU, means European Union, are trying to work on this proposed free trade agreement. Defense, no need to say that how India and France are strategically partnered with each other for many years. We can find the examples of Rafale and Dassault aircraft. France is the supplier and also supported India in the development of different missile systems. Then also great potential for collaboration in the areas of naval, unmanned ships, naval system, unmanned system, cybersecurity. Similarly, with Italy, same type of things, contribution can be done, cooperation can be done, because Italy has strong expertise in air defense, communication, surface and submarine naval systems. Then green technology, green infrastructure, already they are contributing. Now, India's renewable energy market is turning into fourth largest one. So these two European partners can collaborate for this with different missions like green hydrogen missions, solar module manufacturing, energy efficiency. Yes, and luxury industries, their presence are means easily found in our Indian markets of luxury. Like you can see, India can be a good marketplace for them, because now India is emerging towards moving towards different type of luxury goods. And then significance of EU and India strategic partnership. That's why this comprehensive FTA, different rounds are going on already, fourth round completed. So where we can see the progress on several fronts. Then if this happens, then it will further enhance economic ties with France and Italy. Then EU is India's largest trading partner. Almost 12.9% of India's overall trade is 12.9% of overall trade is going on with EU. Now, this is also tripled in the last decade. EU is the second largest investor in India, 70 billion FDI from 2000 to 2017. They remain close partners in G20 also. And also EU seeks to move away from global supply chain, which is overly dependent on China. So India can take advantage by emerging onto it as a natural ally. And there's a significant untapped potential to expand this with FTA. FTA will deliver enhancing India's markets access in key services. So for this, some regulatory barriers like cross-border supply and provision of temporary services of temporary movement of professional should be addressed. So we conclude like with a very good conclusion, like given the rapidly changing geopolitical scenario, strengthening the India-France partnership holds great potential for expanding trade and investment opportunities across new frontiers, with the relevant minister engaging strongly and business interacting with each other, a new base for India's economic relation with Europe is being rapidly set. Then we talk about India's self-sufficiency in food production. Again, a significant challenge is there. What are the measures? According to Food Agriculture Organization, food price index increased by 30% in 2021-22. Why this is happening? We can remind this with the similar kind of proportion in 2010-11. One of the factors was Arab Spring. Then this time this is happening, we can say because of the COVID-19 pandemic, food supply chains already disrupted. But current tension is because of the Ukraine-Russia conflicts. As we know that Russia, Ukraine represent 27% of world's market of wheat, 16% of corn, 23% of barley, 53% of sunflower. Now, India and food crisis vulnerability is there because in India, we can find largest number of undernourished people, around 193 billion number, 16% population suffering from high undernourishment, wasting from 17%, stunting from 31%, low exclusive breastfeeding only 58%. Then National Family Health Survey 5, we can see a very bad statistic. Zero food problem is there. for 6 to 23 months old child. 18% reported this thing. Then 30% from 6 to 11 months, 13% from 12 to 17 months, and 18 to 23 months are 8%. Inequalities are there. Then various threats like conflict of Russia-Ukraine conflict, because of their weight support are means ban, or we can say constraint. And so many countries are putting ban to their wheat export, like India. Black Sea ports, while it was working at 95% of grain exports were taking place. Now it is blocked. Then weather extremes are going on. The drought phenomena is going on in many European countries. China, USA already face this. So this will imply a decline of food supply, shortage of food throughout the globe. Then economic shocks are going on. 30 million people in 21 countries, they are facing food insecurity in 2021. Crop diseases like producing states are facing one disease, or witnessing diseases like trailer dwarfing illness, which is reducing their production by 15 to 20%. Some measures can be taken, say, like stock regulation at private sectors. Impost should be made on the upper ceiling, how much the private sector can stock. Otherwise, they hide this detail, and when they stock, they keep food stock to any number or to a great amount which they are hiding, and because of that, inflation may happen. Then agriculture nutrition linking scheme should be there to deal with the food insecurity, or that zero food problem. Then some schemes are there like Bharatiya Poshan Krishi Codes, already taken in 2019. Then resources should be utilized properly. National Food Security Act 2013, NFSA, according to which 75% of rural population, 50% of urban populations of ration card holder can take the benefit of targeted public distribution system. For that, women, the eldest woman of 18 years or more older, should be the one who will get this benefit. Then convergence of other schemes should be done with this type of food security based scheme, like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Jal Jeevan Mission. Then conclusion, like we are defining food security of a nation is like what? All persons, all citizens have enough nutritious foods available and capacity to provide food of acceptable quality, and no barrier should be on the access to food. The right of food is to well-established principle of international human rights law. So India should adopt those policies which will actually they can have the ability or deal with the diverse issues like inequality, food diversity, indigenous rights, environmental injustice to the ensure the sustainable food security. Then we talk about energy justice. So we'll start with this question. First question of today is, what is energy justice and why is it important for India's development? Discuss the role of renewable energy sources and government policies in India's achieving energy justice. 250 words. So let's come to the answer. Energy justice envisions elements of a global energy system that fairly distributes both energy services benefits and burdens, and can be used as a framework to identify energy injustice. So what is energy justice? And means this is the envision of elements of a global energy system which will fairly distribute both energy service benefit as well as the burdens, and can be used as a framework to identify what are the energy injustices. Now, clean energy appears to be the future of the power needs of humanity across the globe, as reliance of fossil fuels continues to diminish, because আমাৰ fossil fuel খিনি এসময়তো শেষ হৈ যাব, so আমি clean energy উপৰত depend কৰিব লাগিব. However, the road to clean energy is not straightforward. Here is where the government must rely on calculated measure to balance energy security and net zero commitments. ক'বলৈ uzu holo, although it looks simple, but the road to clean energy is not simple. So here government should rely on calculated measure to balance the energy security and net zero commitments. ঠিক আছে, কারণ আমাৰ এনাৰ্জি সিকিউৰিটিও থাকিব লাগিব, আমি ডাইৰেক্ট তালে মুভ কৰাৰ আগতে এটা বেলেঞ্চ এপ্ৰোচ হ'ব লাগিব, ৰাইট? নাও এনাৰ্জি জাস্টিস in India, like massive cuts in excise duty and VAT rates of petrol and diesel, and export cess on petrol, diesel, ATF, windfall tax on domestically produced petroleum products to prevent refiners and producers from profiteering at the cost of domestic consumers, subsidized administered pricing mechanism gas for the city gas distribution sector was drastically increased. Then revising the new domestic gas pricing guidelines 2014 to rationalize and reform APM gas pricing. Now, energy justice in India kobole gole ki koise excise duty report massive cuts hoise aru VAT rates of petrol and diesel report, export cess logwa hoise petrol, diesel aru ATF report, windfall tax on domestically produced petroleum products to prevent refiners and producers from profiteering at the cost of domestic consumers. Then subsidize যিটো administered pricing mechanism আছে, subsidized administered pricing mechanism যাক আমি APM বুলি কওঁ, হেতু ইনক্রিজ কৰা হৈছে gas distributionৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত, right? Revising the new domestic gas pricing guidelines. Now government policies and measures to move towards renewable energy. আমি আসলতে ফসিল ফুয়েলৰ পৰা আমি লাহে লাহে ৰিনিউৱেবল এনাৰ্জিলৈ মুভ কৰিব লাগিব। যেনেকে আমি ক'ব পাৰো যে পেট্ৰল ডিজেলৰ পৰা লাহে লাহে গেছলৈ আহিছো, দেন তাৰ পৰা আমি ৰিনিউৱেবল এনাৰ্জি। চ' ফ'কাছ অন এনাৰ্জি এফিচিয়েঞ্চি উইল নিড energy efficient buildings, lighting, appliances, industrial practices to meet the net zero goal. So efficient building lighting মানে যিমানখিনি আমাৰ বিল্ডিংছ আছে তাত যিখিনি মানে ডিফাৰেণ্ট লাইটিং এপ্লিয়েঞ্চেছ এইবিলাক আছে এইবিলাকৰ ওপৰত মেজাৰ কৰিব লাগে। এনাৰ্জি এফিচিয়েণ্ট বিল্ডিং মানে তাত অতি বেছি আমি যিবিলাক AC ইউজ কৰোঁ বা লাইট ইউজ কৰোঁ, ইলেক্ট্ৰিচিটি সেইবিলাক কম কৰিব লাগিব, solar system dependent হ'ব লাগিব। Then increase use of biofuels can help reduce emission from light commercial vehicles, tractors in agriculture. In aviation, the only practical solution for reducing emission is the greater use of biofuels until hydrogen technology gains scale. যেতিয়ালৈকে hydrogen technology নাহে তেতিয়ালৈকে আমি biofuel বিলাকৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ড কৰিব লাগিব। Even aviation, only practical solution is the greater use of biofuel. Then, yeah, কাৰণ biofuel, if you use biofuel, it will reduce the emission. Then transition towards electric vehicle. This will help curb the carbon emission and move towards cleaner fuel. Vehicular emissions are one of the biggest source of greenhouse gas. You know, we have to move towards electric vehicles. We understand that nowadays the prices of electric vehicles are much higher, but government should actually look into this matter to make these electric vehicles available at a comfortable rate, because that will only curb the carbon emission and we can move towards cleaner fuel. And vehicular emissions are one of the major sources of greenhouse gas. Then carbon sequestration. India will have to rely on natural and man-made carbon sinks to choke up these emissions. Trees can capture 0.9 billion tons. The country will need to carbon capture technologies to sequester the rest. So carbon sequestration should be addressed. Then carbon pricing. India, which already taxes coal and petroleum fuel, should also consider putting a tax on emission to drive change, because already taxes are there on coal and petroleum. Now also need to put some tax on this emission, that how emissions are going on, you have to put a tax, you have to pay a tax. Then only we can change the mindset. Deploying lower carbon energy. There are 4 main types of low carbon energy. What are they? Wind, solar, hydro, and nuclear. Wind, solar, hydro, and nuclear. They are actually low carbon energy. Now, the first three, these three, wind, solar, hydro, are renewable, which means these are good for the environment as natural resources are used, wind and solar, sun, to produce electricity. Now, deploying lower carbon energy would help address these both domestic and international climate challenges while simultaneously improving the economic well-being of India citizens. Now, আমি যদি low carbon energy use কৰো তেনেহলে domestic আৰু international climate change হ'ব, ভাল হ'ব, মানে পজিটিভ দিশত যাব, আমাৰ ইকনমিক ৱেলবিংটো বাঢ়িব, কম পইচা খৰচ হ'ব। Mainstreaming renewable energy. India's energy mix is dominated by coal-powered electric generation stations as of now. Electric generation karone we are totally depending on coal. Now, need of the hour is increasing the share of renewable energy in this energy mix. For this, we have to move towards renewable energy based energy electricity generation. Now, what are the way forwards? Way forwards to ensure energy justice. India is a global exporter of petroleum products, and its refining capacity is the fourth largest in the world after US, China, and Russia. Hobo pare crude oil anu anor pora we import them, but we are also the exporter of petroleum products. We have a very good refining capacity. In fact, the fourth largest one. So efforts are underway to further enhance this capacity by 450 MMT by 2040. So innovation and investments in exploration and production. India wants to boost its net geographic area under exploration from 8 to 15%. Tarpa amar energy security to ahibo by 2025. So India tries to boost its national net geographic area under exploration from 8 to 15% under by 2025. So 0.5 million kilometers square, and has reduced the prohibited or no-go areas in EEZ by 99%. Then moving towards a gas-based economy by increasing the share of gas from the current 3 to 15% by 2030. India has connected more than 9.5 crore families with clean cooking fuel in the past 9 years. I told you, if we move towards gas, then that will also a kind of good thing, because low emission will happen, and the cost is also relatively less. So that is also clean also. So India, in the last 9 years, India connected more than 9.5 crore families with clean cooking fuel. PNG connection have increased from 28 lakhs to 1 crore in 2023. Then number of CNG sessions in India has gone up from 938 in 2014 to 4,900 in 2023. Since 2014, India has increased the length of its gas pipeline network from 14,700 kilometers to 22,000 kilometers in 2023. So you have to remember the data, like 2014 চনত আমাৰ আছিলে 14,700 kilometer gas pipeline. Now we have 22,000 kilometer gas pipeline হৈছে. Biofuel revolution. At the recent India Energy Week 2023, India launched E20, that is 20% ethanol blended gasoline, which will be expanded across the country in the next 2 years. India's ethanol blending gasoline has grown up from 53% in 2013 to 10.17% in 2023. So ethanol blending gasoline has also grown up. So is a E20 20% ethanol blended gasoline use কৰাটো expand কৰিব ভাৰতে. India is also setting up 5 second generation ethanol plants that can convert agricultural waste into biofuel. Second generation, remember, second generation ethanol plants means those which will convert agricultural waste into biofuel. That will reduce pollution due to stubble burning, also generate income for the farmers. Right. Otherwise, agricultural waste turns into stubble burning by the farmers, creates pollution that will be reduced. Then developing the entire green hydrogen ecosystem. National Green Hydrogen Mission has been launched with an outlay of 19,744 crore. to accelerate India's effort towards 4 MT of annual green hydrogen production and 1 lakh crore of fossil fuel import savings by 2030. So India's national green hydrogen mission to launch kora hoisil jitu kiman outlay rakhisil 19,744 crore. যাৰ দ্বাৰা আমি এটা এইম ৰাখিছো ইণ্ডিয়া যে 4 MT এনুৱেল গ্ৰীণ হাইড্ৰজেন প্ৰডাকশ্যন হ'ব আৰু 1 লাখ crore ফসিল ফুয়েল ইম্পৰ্ট ৰিডিউচ হ'ব by 2030. So remember the number, green hydrogen gas mission জৰিয়তে কিমান 4 MT annual green hydrogen production and reduction of 1 lakh crore import of crude oils, okay, fossil fuel by 2030. An integrated path for transitioning India's future mobility pathways, along with green hydrogen and biofuels. India is also supporting electric vehicles through a production-linked incentive scheme. Now, it is targeting the installation of alternative fuel stations, EV charging thakibo tat, CNG, LPG, LNG, CBG logot. So at 22,000 retail outlets by 2024. কাৰণ এইবিলাক EV station লাগিব, electric vehicle charging station লাগিব, তেতিয়াহে electric vehicles বিলাক comfortably move কৰিব পাৰিব। আৰু ইণ্ডিয়া প্লেন কৰিছে 22,000 retail outlets by 2024. So conclusion, according to IEA estimates, India will account for 25% of global energy demand growth by 2040. Now, as India aspires to become a 26 trillion economy by 2047, remember the term, as India aspires to be 26 trillion economy by 2047, implementing a unique strategy for ensuring energy security and achieving energy interdependent need of the hour. So our target is to 26 trillion economy by 2047. Okay. And for that, we should implement a unique strategy to ensure the security and achieving energy independence. Because if we depend on others, import a heavy amount of crude oil from the others, then our aim of 26 trillion economy will not be possible. So that's why we have to be energy independent. So that's why we are saying that India aspires to become a 26 trillion economy by 2047, implementing a unique strategy for ensuring energy security and achieving energy independence is the need of the hour. Now let's come to the next question. Probity in governance requires a commitment to the transparency, accountability, and integrity from all levels of the government. When these principles are not upheld, it can lead to a lack of trust in government and undermine the functioning of democracy. Now, what is probity? Probity is the quality or condition of having strong moral principles, integrity, good character, honesty, and decency. So what is probability? Probability is the quality or condition of having good or some moral principles. Moral principles thakibo lagibo, then integrity, good character, honesty, and decency. So this is the act of adhering to the highest principles and ideas rather than avoiding corrupt and dishonest conduct. Means you have to avoid corrupt and dishonest conduct, but with all that is okay, but with that you also have to adhere some highest principle like moral principle, integrity, good characters. This should be there. It balances the services to the community against the self-interest of individual. So this probity is balancing services to the community against the self-interest of the individual. Now, what are the importance and relevance of probity? As an individual level, for individual, probity is about the understanding the limits of their authority and powers and acting within those limits. Probity thakile ami nijor jitu authority limit ase hedu gom pam and we will act according to that limit. So for individual, probity is about understanding that limit of authority and act accordingly. Then public servants need to be conscious at all times of the need to uphold the high standard of conduct in their dealings on the government's behalf, which includes acting with integrity and avoiding conflicts of interest. So acting with integrity and avoiding conflicts of interest can be considered as public servants' probity. Then having a conflict of interest is not morally wrong or unethical itself. The challenge is recognizing and managing them. Conflict of interest থাকিব পাৰে. It is not morally wrong or unethical, but how you are recognizing and how you are managing it is the main concern or main challenge. So that is under probity, why probity is required. Then public servants should also be aware of the need to avoid any perception of bias in their dealings that requires an open mind in decision making and acting fairly and impartially in good faith. So public service main main awareness should be to avoid any perception of bias in their dealings. Bias থাকিব নালাগিব, এটা open mind থাকিব লাগিব decision making or বাবে, আৰু accordingly with that open minds decision they have to act fairly and impartially without bias in good faith. Then these are the probity with respect to individual level. Now with respect to organization level, for organization, probity is about setting values at an organization level and then implementing those values through policies and codes of practices. So organization level আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব, probity to set কৰিব লাগিব, কিছুমান ভ্যালু সেট কৰিব লাগিব, আৰু সেই ভ্যালু বিলাক পলিচিৰ জৰিয়তে আমি প্ৰ্যাকটিস কৰাব লাগিব. It is then for managers to demonstrate those values through leadership and to positively reinforce the values and also to ensure compliance with and enforcement of the values. So the duty of the managers to demonstrate those values, reinforce those values, and to ensure compliance with enforcement of the values. Then government agencies should establish an ethical culture. Government eta office to eta ethical culture থাকিব লাগিব. Then they should set out to live that culture to ensure the equitable distribution of the resources, to bring strong image of the country around the globe, to cater the needs of all sections of the society and show that inclusive growth is achieved. So আমি দেখিলো organizationত policy making কৰিব লাগিব সেই probity values বিলাকৰ লগত কাৰণে, আৰু code of practice থাকিব লাগিব. Managers have to demonstrate those values properly and then reinforce them. Then government agencies should focus on establishing ethical culture, equitable distribution of resources, strong image of the country around the globe to be brought, then cater the needs of all sections of society are the probity with respect to an organization. Then in public sphere, in democracy, probity espouses the principles of equality before law and a respect for the rights and duties of the leaders towards their citizens. In democracy, probity espouses the principles of equality before law and a respect for the rights, duties of the leaders towards the citizen. Conversely, probity is the social expectation which citizens demand from decision makers and all those who function as a part of the state apparatus. So citizen সকলৰ এটা এসপেক্ট থাকিব তেওঁলোকৰ লিডাৰ সকলৰ পৰা, তেওঁলোকৰ ডিসিশন মেকাৰ সকলৰ পৰা, যে এই probity মানে সেই probity টো যেটো তেওঁলোকে এক্সপেক্টেশন ৰাখিছে তেওঁলোকৰ লিডাৰ সকলে যাতে ফুলফিল কৰিছে. Legitimacy of the system. Foremost, it helps to build up the legitimacy of the system, that is the state. It builds trust in the institution of the state and a belief that the actions of the state will be for welfare of the beneficiaries. Then objectivity. It provides for an objective and independent view on the fairness of the process. Checks and balances. It helps in checking the abuse and misuse of the power by the various organs of the government, such as magistracy, police, or other providers of the public services like PWD, health, education. Then equitable and sustainable development, essential and vital requirement for an efficient and effective system of governance and for the socio-economic development. And to serve constitutional cause like probity in the government, it will be required to serve the motto of the constitution. It is very important. Probity to our constitution cause constitutional cause use koribo lagibo. That is to provide constitutional cause to provide social, political, and economic justice. Remember the preamble, everything is mentioned. So probity in governance is required to serve the motto of the constitution, that is to provide social, political, and economic justice to all, that enhances faith in the governance and reduce politicization of bureaucracy. If the bureaucracy bilakor politicization to kom hobo lagibo, it helps to address nepotism, favoritism, political partnership. Public reposes more trust on governments in governance, and therefore it facilitates the participatory governance. It leads to avoidance of suboptimal outcomes, corruption, and poor perception. So reduced politicization of bureaucracy will help to address the nepotism, favoritism, political partnership. Then, as a conclusion, we can say that according to the Second Administrative Reform Commission, apart from the traditional civil service values of efficiency, integrity, accountability, and patriotism, এইখিনি তো আমাৰ civil servant বিলাকৰ এটা values আছে, এটা নহয়, এইগিটা value আছে, কি আছিলে? Efficiency, integrity, accountability, and patriotism. It is also necessary for the civil servants to inculcate and adopt ethical and moral values, including probity in public life, respect for human rights, and compassion for the downtrodden, and commitment to their welfare. So according to according to the Second Administrative Reform Commission, apart from the traditional civil services values, which are efficiency, integrity, accountability, and patriotism, civil servants should also needs to inculcate and adopt ethical and moral values, including probity. What? Including probity in public life, respect for human rights, and compassion for the downtrodden, and commitment to their welfare. Now, probity in governance is the antithesis of corruption in public life. Remember, probity jodi government la hai, then corruption is a komi jabo. Probity in governance is the antithesis. Remember this term, antithesis of corruption in public life. So probity is emphasized by the UN Convention Against Corruption. This line can also be added. Probity is the evidence of ethical behavior in a particular process. For government employees and agencies, maintaining probity involves more than simply avoiding corrupt or dishonest conduct. Just তুমি কৰাপ্ট কৰা নাই বা ডিসঅনেস্ট কন্ডাক্ট কৰা নাই, সেইখিনিতকৈ বহুত ওপৰত যাব যদি তুমি probity maintain কৰা as a public servant or as a government employee and agency. It involves applying public sector values such as impartiality, accountability, and transparency. Now, ইয়াৰ লগত আমি যদি জানিব বিচাৰো probity কি হয়, probity এটা confirmed integrity হয়. It is usually regarded as being incorruptible. Probity is confirmed integrity. It is usually regarded as being incorruptible. It is the quality of having strong moral principle and strictly following them, such as honesty, uprightness, transparency, incorruptibility. Tomorrow ওচৰত moral principles আছে, কিন্তু তুমি সেইখিনি follow কৰিছা নে নাই? That also depends, right? It is the quality. Probity is nothing but the quality is the of having strong moral principle along with strictly following them. As for example, honesty, uprightness, transparency, and incorruptibility, right? These are the strong values. Now you are following it. What are the values? Honesty, uprightness, transparency, incorruptibility. As a probity, you are having these values and also you are strictly following them. we are talking about probity with respect to governance. Probity in governance is concerned with the property and character of various organs of the government as to whether this uphold the procedural uprightness regardless of the individuals manning this institution. So governance probity thoka mane ki hoise ইয়াৰ যিবিলাক অৰ্গান তাহাঁতি এই যে প্ৰচিডিউৰেল আপৰাইটনেছটো আছে সেইটো পুৰা ধৰি ৰাখিছে নে নাই লাগিলে যেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ ইণ্ডিভিজুৱেল তাত নাথাকক কিয় ইট ইনভলভছ এডপ্টিং এন এথিকেল এণ্ড ট্ৰান্সপাৰেণ্ট এপ্ৰ'চ ট্ৰান্সপাৰেণ্ট এপ্ৰ'চ থাকিব লাগিব দেন অনলি ইউ কেন এক্সপেক্ট some kind of ethical approach allowing the process to withstand scrutiny. Probity goes farther than the avoidance of being dishonest because it is also determined by intangibles like personal and societal values. You are if you are saying probity means not you are not you are honest, that is not the case. Probity is going farther beyond that. Probity goes farther than the avoidance of being dishonest because it is determined by some intangible qualities like personal and societal values. So probity has been described as a risk management approach for ensuring procedural integrity. It is concerned with the procedure and processes and systems rather than outcomes. So outcome nije ahibo kintu tar agote probity কি কৰে procedures কেনেকুৱা process বা systems কিনি কেনেকুৱা হেতু ওপৰত concern কৰিব that principles of probity ethics and good governance operate on many levels from the individual to the organization and on to the watchdog. Now probity principles, there are generally accepted probity concepts that serve to preserve the integrity of a system. কোৱাদৰে কি থাকিব লাগিব transparency, it is decisable that the procedure is transparent to the most volume feasible so that each one stakeholder can have faith and confidence with the consequences. Jodi transparency nathake, how could you expect the confidence from those stakeholders? So transparent open technique additionally decline the possibility for and the threat of the corruption and fraud. Transparency থাকিলেহে আমাৰ যেটো possibility থাকে বা থ্ৰিট থাকে corruption or fraud হেতু মানে নাইকিয়া হয়. Accountability, it is the responsibility with a view to give an explanation for or account for the manner duties were achieved. The government has to have appropriate mechanism in the area to expose that they may be liable for practices and decision. Accountable hobo lagibo tumi as a government you have to take this responsibility for the explanation or account for the duties that perform or that done লাগিলে for good causes, for bad causes also. Then confidentiality, being employed all public servants and other employees under a great general responsibility of confidentiality to their corporation. Accordingly, it is not vital for the participants of a government project team who are public servants to execute a confidentiality project in terms of the mission. Moreover, all the government and advisors, servants, members, and some other third party that is aware of commercially sensitive statistics ought to ensure a proper venture to government that they will preserve this information confidential. So if some critical sensitive statistics are there, then that employees or that project team members of the government should preserve this information as confidential. Then conflict of interest. This is where the general public responsibility and private interest of a board or staff members can be in conflict, which results in the personal interests unreliably influencing their duties and needs. Stakeholders have the authority to count on that board and staff contributors will make selections in the best interest of the organization. Means conflicts of interest should be addressed. If some recruitment is going on, then the stakeholders or board and staff contributors should be in that belief that no conflicts will be done, that it is not the case that members are chosen only from the siblings or from the means that children of that board manager or like that. That's an example. So conflict of interest should be addressed properly. Then impartiality should be there. People and companies interacting with an employee are predicted to be independent at every level of the method. If they do not no longer trust the process is accurate or fair or unbiased, it may harm the popularity of the enterprise. So biasness should be prohibited, should be avoided, and the procedure should be accurate, fair, and unbiased. Otherwise, it may harm the popularity of the enterprise. So we talk about the probity principle with that are transparency, accountability, confidentiality, conflict of interest, and impartiality. Remember, I'm repeating again, transparency থাকিব লাগিব, accountability থাকিব লাগিব, confidentiality থাকিব লাগিব, conflict of interest থাকিব লাগিব, আৰু impartiality থাকিব লাগিব. ক'ত থাকিব লাগিব? As a probity principles. আমি আৰু এইটো চালো যে concept of probity মানে কি হয়, এটা যে confirm integrity, এটা যে quality যাৰ দ্বাৰা honesty, uprightness, transparency, incorporated থাকিব, আৰু গভৰ্ণমেণ্টছে যিখিনি প্ৰচেছ ল'ব সেইখিনিয়ে প্ৰচিডিউৰেল আপৰাইটনেছ ফ'ল' কৰিব, আৰু এইটো এটা এথিকেল এণ্ড ট্ৰান্সপাৰেণ্ট এপ্ৰ'চ হ'ব। দেন ডিছঅনেষ্ট হোৱাটোৱেই নহয় অকল, আৰু লগতে পাৰ্চনেল এণ্ড ছ'চিয়েল ভেলুজখিনি সেইখিনি ভালকৈ মেইনটেইন কৰিব লাগিব। ৰিস্ক মেনেজমেণ্ট এপ্ৰ'চ হিচাপেও প্ৰভিটিয়ে কাম কৰে, কাৰণ এইটো এটা প্ৰচিডিউৰেল ইণ্টিগ্ৰিটিটো তোমাৰ এনচিয়'ৰ কৰে। ইয়াত যিখিনি প্ৰচেছ থাকিব সেইখিনিৰ ওপৰত বেছি ফ'কাছ কৰা হ'ব আউটকামতকৈ, কাৰণ তেতিয়া অলৰেডি ভাল আউটকামেই পোৱা যাব। সেইখিনি আমি গম পালোঁ এজ এ probity concept. তাৰপিছত আমি দেখিলোঁ যে probity in government is the antithesis of corruption in public life. This line is very important. I think a separate question may be framed from this line, that probity in governance, remember, probity in governance is antithesis of corruption in public life. কেনেকৈ হৈছে এইটো কোনে কৈছে? This is emphasized by UN Conventions Against Corruption. UN Convention Against Corruption, because probity is the evidence of ethical behavior in a particular process. So government, employees, and agencies maintaining probity involves more than simply avoiding corrupt and dishonest conduct. That also involves applying public sector values like impartiality will be there, accountability will be there, transparency will be there. So no way corruption can be possible in such cases. Then we talk about that probity in individual levels and organization level. We have seen, or we have defined probity as the quality or condition having strong moral principles, integrity, good character, honesty, and decency. Integrity, good character, honesty, and decency. But the act of adhering the highest principles and ideals rather than avoiding corrupt and dishonest conduct is also part of it. It balances the service to the community against self-interest of the individual. So individual level of আমি দেখিলো যে ইণ্ডিভিজুৱেলে নিজৰ লিমিট জানিব লাগিব, অথৰিটি আৰু পাৱাৰ খিনি জানিব লাগিব, আৰু একৰ্ডিংলি এক্ট কৰিব লাগিব, কনচিয়াছ হ'ব লাগিব তেওঁলোকৰ ষ্টেণ্ডাৰ্ড অফ কণ্ডাক্ট বা ডিলিংছৰ লগত, যিটো ইণ্টিগ্ৰিটি থাকিব লাগিব, কনফ্লিক্ট অফ ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট এভইড কৰিব লাগিব। যদি কনফ্লিক্ট অফ ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট থাকে, এটা মৰেলি ৰং বা আনএথিকেল নহয় আমি জানো, কিন্তু কেনেকৈ কনফ্লিক্ট, হাউ দ্য কনফ্লিক্ট অফ ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট উইল বি ৰিকগনাইজ এণ্ড মেনেজ, that is the main challenge, because having a conflict of interest is not morally wrong. That may be there, that may happen, but you have to take the challenge of recognizing and managing and properly. And then also public servants should be aware of the need to avoid any perception of bias in their dealings. Open mind decision should take place, making and acting fairly and impartially in good faith. Then organizational level, we have seen that policy should be there to make these probity values enforceable. Managers responsible to make them enforceable, compliance with. Then government agencies should adopt some ethical culture, then to live with that culture, to ensure equitable distribution of resources, to being strong image to the image of the country to the globe, than to cater needs of all the section of the society. In public sphere also, we have seen in democracy, legitimacy system should be there. Objectivity, check and balances of the power should be there. Equitable and sustainable development should be focused to serve the constitutional causes. What are those causes? To provide social, political, and economic justice to all. This should be also one part of probity in governance. That is the motto. Then we need to reduce the politicization of bureaucracy, right? So this question is about probity, and I think that one question is definitely be coming in the upcoming examination, and this question answer is sufficient to deal with any type of such question. Now let's come to the last question of today's lecture, that is list the inadequacies of citizen charters in India and propose ways to enhance effectiveness and to enhance the delivery of public services.